Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. Let's take a look at some charts. It's been a couple weeks, so I appreciate all the messages asking me for a video. It says that you watch, you care, you take my analysis seriously, but I just didn't have anything to say. I mean, we've been sideways for like 2 weeks, right? Let's set the stage. Let's go to the daily cloud. We have to start somewhere. My preference is always the daily for crypto. It's always the cloud for crypto. If we look at the daily cloud, face value, what's smacking you in the face right now is this TK disequilibrium, also known as a C-clamp. If you're familiar with the tool, the C-clamp tool, you can Google it if you're not sure. What you never want to see during a trend is kind of this exact scenario, because it typically indicates mean reversion sooner rather than later, because the TK lines are getting increasingly separated. So that's what I see first. Then what are some other stuff I'm seeing? I'm seeing a potential move to 15 based on flat Kumo equals magnet. You can see that doesn't always happen. We had a massive flat Kumo here, and we never dipped into the cloud. Never happened. So that's also possible here. I don't want to get too bearish. I just want to draw the branches of the decision tree, right? If this, then that. If we get a bearish TK cross above the cloud, we close our longs, and then if we get a bullish TK cross above the cloud, we reopen our longs. It's the same rules as always, just like here. This is nothing new. But you have to think about this ahead of time so that you're ready, because when it happens, you got to pull the trigger. So right now, to me, this says we're overbought. Be careful going long up here. Be careful opening a position with size up here. Get ready to get stopped out up here if you're going long. Consider hedging up here. Consider shorting up here. Did I say that out loud? I think I did. Consider shorting up here if you're brave and know what you're doing, because basically you can short or hedge with a stop at the all-time high, which is crazy to say that, all-time high, but that's kind of where this is sitting at the moment. It still looks overbought on the daily. That's the biggest thing that's concerning for me in any long position. So we may get a Kijun bounce. You know, we didn't here, at least on line chart. It didn't close at the Kijun. I think it actually touched the Kijun here. But best case scenario is this drops whatever it is, 25-30%, and bounces back up. We sort of already had that bounce on low time frames on the 12-hour, so I don't know if we can count on that to happen again. But right now this decision tree has so much foliage, so many branches, it's hard to know what's going on. It's hard to take a position or even analyze this and be confident in what's going to happen. You know, I don't have an edge here other than this looks overbought, be careful. So it's definitely a wait and see mode. If we go to the 12-hour again, here's that Kijun bounce. I mentioned it last video. You have to adjust timeframes based on the speed of the market. So if the market's super quick, like an altcoin, you might want to look at that on the hourly or less. Sometimes the signals are good. The signals usually don't last. They're usually not perpetually good on the hourly, but just during a specific trend, they might be good on the hourly. The 4-hour, for Bitcoin's case, it looked pretty good on the 12-hour. It was bouncing on the Tenkin over and over and over again. And you get this predictive Kijun bounce, support holds, and we're back up above both now. So again, here's another situation where this doesn't look overbought, it doesn't look oversold, it doesn't look anything. And we're starting to see this Chiku span, something I never talk about, the lagging span, move into price. That's the first sign of weakness that basically says we're sideways. If we see that on the daily, then we're probably in trouble. You know, similar to here on the daily, it's either two scenarios, right? It's either it just keeps going sideways or it typically drops. It doesn't typically reconsolidate bullish. You know, this is a rare event. These bullish TK recrosses above the cloud. Those don't happen unless this is a serious trend, which it arguably is. It's arguably much like 2016, 2017. But that shouldn't necessarily be an expectation, I guess. Definitely watch for it and trade it. You know, that's what I did, but I wouldn't expect this to just be bullish outright, right? Just trade what you see. It's bullish, it's overbought on the daily. Again, we have this thick cloud where we have this potential for an edge-to-edge move. Anytime the trade sets up, that's when I start to get nervous, right? Because there's a decent risk reward here for a short to 14.9 or whatever this is, 15, I don't know. Basically from 18 to 15 is a really nice trade if that presents itself. A trade which I will likely take on the 12-hour, just like I was mentioning on the daily. You know, maybe you're just hedged or short here already, and looking to close out around 15. And then here's the exact trade setup that I'm watching for on the 12-hour. If we look at the pitchfork, my friend and yours, pretty much sitting at the median line, sitting at the R2 yearly pivot. If I use my pivot math, I get some values for next year already. A few days left in 2020. But this is the main pivot. This is the S1, R1. And I don't think it really helps us out in the moment right now, but it'll help us out going forward through next year, just like it did in 2020-ish. I mean, it ranged here and then climbed the ladder. So it may just range here between 14 and 25 and then climb the ladder to 33K in July. That's a possible scenario that I think we'd all appreciate, right? Or alternatively, the R5 is going to be somewhere around 46. And again, it's on the top side of the pitchfork, which we haven't visited this entire trend, which is crazy. If this pitchfork is legit, if this rate of change is legit, you'd expect at some point to be bullish on the median, above the median line, above the median of the pitchfork. Some other danger signs for a pullback here, a decent pullback, not just a 10% one, but a 20 to 30% one. If we look at 2016, this is the 200-day moving average on the daily. Yeah, so 200-day EMA or MA, whatever. Point is, mean reversion is going to be a son of a bee when it happens, because right now it's somewhere around 12, 13 is the 200-day moving average. One other thing I'll mention about the trend stuff, if you turn on Alligator fractals, you're looking at a stop loss kind of at the median line here of this, which is around 18.5, something like that. So again, all sorts of warning signs. If we go below 18.5, it's usually jump out of your lungs. If we go below 18, it's open that short. That's what I'll be doing. If we look at the weekly cloud with the 20 MA, again, mean reversion is down around 12, 13. So there's just an infinity amount of downside here. It's tough because we're at all-time high. We could be in price discovery soon. Or we say, you know what, we just mean revert here at the end of the year. That doesn't typically happen in Q4, but it's just an uncomfortable position to be long right now, I think. Even though we're all-time high, even though we're potentially in price discovery, even though everybody and their mother is saying they're buying BTC, it's just a tough spot. If you look at the 2-year moving average multiplier, here's the 2-year moving average in the green. The red is 5x the green 2-year moving average. Upside is going to be limited right now around 44K, whatever this is. We're not even at the median line yet. But overall, this has been a pretty good indicator of highs and lows, macro highs and lows. It's got like an N of 2 for the lows, 3 for the lows, and 2 for the highs, right? So it's not like it's some massive statistical significance here, but thus far, from what we can look at, the highs have been above 5x the 2-year MA, and the lows have been below the 2-year MA, right? So we're not there yet. Another way to read this is, even at the median line, once we exceed the median line, we typically reach 5x the 2-year MA. Here's a different type of high and low trend indicator. The logarithmic growth curves has been perfect at the highs, almost perfect at the lows. If we just, delete the March stuff from the chart, we just smudge it out with our thumb, and we can say, look at how perfect this has been at highs and lows. It's predicted all the highs, all the lows. Right now, the highs somewhere around 90K, 96K, something like that. And the median line's around 40. I don't know, it's high, right? There's still a ways to go. I think everybody trading this trend-wise is going to be more comfortable if we get a insane pullback and then it keeps going versus it just keeps going here. If it just keeps going here, we're getting like a 2019 situation where when it retraces, it's just over. That's what you don't want. You want a mean reversion that's healthy for the trend. You don't want trend reversal. So the risk is we fly too close to the sun, and then we just get trend reversal. Here's the CME Futures contracts, and we kind of have until the 22nd, I'd say, to do something here if we're going to do something bullish. Because if we get close to the 24th, we're going to get some crazy volatility, probably, I'd imagine. The reason I even look at this is because we typically have volatility during rollover weeks for these contracts. So that volatility may be a catalyst for one such mean reversion you know, if we're sideways from now until the 24th, I'm not going to be bullish on the week of the 24th. I would be highly expecting some sort of mean reversion that week, just because of the churn in the contracts and what effect that tends to have on the market. That's kind of it for BTC. Just a bunch of nothing really this past week. Trying to draw that decision tree, trying to read the branches, trying to pick the bark, or whatever people who read trees do. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Hit me up on Twitter, and happy trading.